All right, on the race course is the women's lightweight youth double B final. Let me set the lane assignments for you. In lane 1, the central champion Founders. They look to be actually in the lead early here. In lane 2 is GMS. Lane 3 is Seattle Preparatory. Lane 4 is Petite. Lane 5, First Coast. And in lane 6 is Essex. So it is a lead early here of about a length for Founders in lane 1. Looks like second place is Seattle Prep in lane 3. And then it's very close, but I'm going to give third place at the moment to lane 2, GMS. Beautiful overhead picture here of the first 500 meters of this race course here at Lake Natoma. This is the B final of the women's lightweight youth double, contesting places 7 through 12 in America in this boat class, and really rowing away with this thing early as they get to the 500-meter mark is the boat from Founders, as I said, the central champion in lane 1.
Yeah, wow, really quite a substantial lead here just at 500 meters in. We're looking at a really good lead here by Founders along the shoreline. They already have open water over the rest of the field. Back to them, again, by a bit of open water, maybe about a seat or two, it will be Seattle Prep. They're looking really strong, pulling themselves up bow to stern over lane 2, GMS. GMS sitting maybe 2 seats over First Coast, and then First Coast 2 seats over Petite. Back to them by a little bit will be lane 6, Essex. And, you know, really cool thing to note here, we are at the Youth National Championships, super hard to get here. And I just want to point out that one of the rowers in that Essex boat is just an 8th grader. So an 8th grader and a sophomore at the Youth National Championships. Wow, what a feat. So hats off to the coaching staff, hats off to these athletes for making it here and contesting for one of the top spots in the nation. Just amazing.
Yeah, that is very, very amazing. This is the highest level of youth rowing that we are watching all weekend long here at Lake Natoma. And the lead for Founders is getting a little bit smaller, but they're still way out in front of this field. It's just that we're seeing a little bit more speed out of Seattle Prep. Maybe they closed about a half a length of the open water that was there, but it's still Seattle Prep. Good picture of them there in lane 3 that is sitting ahead of lane 2, GMS. So GMS is in third place. And look at this, bow for bow, lanes 4 and 5. It is Petite and First Coast from Jacksonville, Florida. Those two just a half a length off the pace of GMS.
Wow, so really great racing heating up between GMS, Petite, and First Coast. And what we're looking at is a nice job by Seattle Prep, just kind of pushing themselves away. Every stroke, you can take a look at every stroke they take, they're getting just a little bit farther away and leaving behind GMS, Petite, and First Coast behind them. Essex still continuing in 6th, and then Founders just way out front. So good job to these guys as they get into the meat of this race, into this third 500. And as we progress down the race course, we'll take a look at those final 3 placements between GMS, Petite, and First Coast for 3rd, 4th, or 5th place.
Your winner of the first 1,000 meters of this race is definitely Founders. They have about a length of open water, as you saw there briefly on the camera. Still sitting in 2nd place is Seattle Prep ahead of GMS. And then Petite is ahead of First Coast and Essex in that order. That's a good shot of Essex there in lane 6. And we talked about the youth of these athletes being at this level. It's really an amazing experience regardless of how they finish, but they're sitting in a B final, which is nothing to shake a stick at by any means. Even finishing 12th in the nation is incredibly respectable and just would be an amazing finish for these young athletes. So out in front, it continues to be Founders in lane 1, and we'll see if it's tightening up as we get the overhead shot between Seattle Prep and GMS. Seattle Prep really had a pretty strong 2nd place, and they still do. But now we're seeing that bow ball from Petite start to move up, and in fact, they are ahead of GMS now as Petite.
All right, and so Petite, last year they earned a 7th place finish in this event at Youth Nationals in 2017. So really with a good amount of experience coming into this. And Founders way out in front. Also for them, Centrals, they were the champion at the Central Youth Championships this season. So they're also coming into it. Like David has attested to earlier, a lot of these crews having seen undefeated seasons, really not seeing much in the way of any sort of losses until they've come to this event. So we're looking at some of the best competition that they've experienced yet this season out on the race course. So Founders doing a nice job pulling themselves just a little bit farther away from the rest of the field, and a good push here by Petite as we move into the final 500 meters.
I haven't seen a picture of Founders in a while, but you have Seattle Prep, Petite, and GMS in that order, all rowing about 32 strokes a minute with this crosswind as they approach 500 meters to go in the lightweight women's double. This is the B final here at the 2018 U.S. Rowing Youth National Championships as we pan to the front, and you see that lead, 500 meters to go for Founders. They still have a little bit more than a length of open water on second place, which continues to be Seattle Prep, and now a solid third place for Petite, a length ahead of fourth place GMS. Then in fifth place, it's First Coast, and sixth place continues to be Essex.
That's right. So we had a little close-up shot there of that Essex crew. Definitely good athletes in that boat, rowing much more mature than their age, a sophomore and an eighth grader. So super cool to see that level of athleticism in these young athletes as they come through the race course. So final 400 strokes here for 400 meters. 400 strokes would be a lot more than they would ever want, but 400 meters for them. Founders coming into their final sprint phase here, still holding off Seattle Prep, but as we've seen all afternoon, Seattle Prep has done a really great job in the final strokes, final 250, so we'll keep an eye on them, see if they can take away a little bit of that lead from Founders, but I think Founders is too strong, and they're coming against the shoreline here and moving in and winding it up for their sprint.
That's right, we're in the red buoys, 200 meters left for all of these crews, and continues to be Founders from Dallas in lane 1, and it's getting a little bit closer. All that open water that they had is sort of starting to go away here, but it's still 25 strokes to the line. We'll see if these boats can catch up. It doesn't look like it. They just threw the hammer down in the Founders boat and started to go because they realized that they were getting pressed. In second place, it continues to be the boat from Seattle Prep. Third place continues to be Petite, a length ahead of the fourth place boat from GMS. But the race that's really close right now is that Petite's trying to put a charge into second place Seattle Prep. But here they come, about 5, 6, 7 strokes from the line. It's going to be Founders in lane 1.
Wow, so a lot closer over these last 250 meters. Founders still in that first place position, but now just maybe bow to stern over Seattle Prep, and then so close between Seattle Prep and Petite. Seattle Prep held on to second, Petite in third, and then here comes GMS in fourth.
Essex.
And then Essex in fifth, followed by First Coast. So nice movement there by